All right, so yesterday I noticed that they added Tahoe Joe 2, Bigfoot Conspiracy to Tubi, and I realized I'd never seen the first movie, and being the big found footage fanatic that I am, and all the found footage films that we cover here on the channel, I thought I'd check them both out because I can't watch them out of order. Of course, I've got to watch one and the other. And then let's talk about them. So I figure we might as well do it here in one video because I'm really here mostly to talk about the second one. As far as the first one goes, we've got Michael Rock, Dylan Brown, these filmmakers, friends. Dylan's the filmmaker. The reason that I know about this movie or knew about the first film is because I'm pretty sure this is one of the films that was attached to that cryptid verse that they were trying to get going with, like, the Mothman and whatnot. We watched, I think, the other films, and then I want to say Dylan also did this film called The Flock, which they do discuss in the first film, and they talk about it there, and it's very meta in that way, where it's like, oh, I'm a filmmaker who made this movie The Flock, and now I'm making like a real documentary about Bigfoot and going out and looking for him with my friend Michael, who's this military guy, and he's going to be out there to protect me and whatnot, and we're gonna look for Tahoe Joe and be the people who really get the evidence. And so they take this guide out, and there's this weird relationship with the guide because he doesn't want them to take their guns, and some shit goes down between them. So a lot of the drama and whatnot comes from those scenes. It's a pretty uneventful film, but there's a good camaraderie and believability to the two leads' friendship, because I can only assume they're actually like real friends in real life, so that helps with the believability of it. It's just a fairly uneventful film. The movie was made for I think it said like $800 or something, and that includes a Bigfoot costume, so that's probably the entire budget right there. Overall, this one's fine. It's okay. I didn't like it all that much. I didn't hate it all that much. It was just kind of like, it was okay. It was just like a basic standard found footage film with amateurish acting, not a really original concept or anything, just them kind of testing the waters of this. So the first one, it's okay. So in the second one, we get these influencers that go missing. And this person blames them for putting out their documentary. So we are living in a world where their documentary has been released as Tahoe Joe as we know it, but it's like real in their world, except for people online are like critiquing it, being like, this isn't real, even though of course we know in the real world that this isn't real. But I like that there's this meta-ness to it, that there's people critiquing their film. This is nothing new. We've seen this in Grave Encounters and Blair Witch, and this is pretty common with these types of movies, but I always do like seeing it. So anyway, we have a character who says, like, I kind of blame you guys for putting this thing out. That's what influenced these girls to go out there, and now they're missing. And so Michael, being the military guy, the hero complex, he can't handle that and feels like he's obligated to go save these girls, or at least look into what happened to them to see if they're actually dead or if he can do something about it. And him and Dylan make their way back to the Tahoe area to see what happened. And so the Bigfoot conspiracy, so this one definitely goes much bigger. So if you had a problem with the first one and you felt like not enough happened and you were really liking it and you just wish there was more going on, then this is definitely your film. So I'm gonna sound like a hypocrite here, but the first one, not enough happened. The second one, too much happened. It just got so silly, and I know what they were going for. And they, we're working with a limited budget here. We're working with limited means here. We're working with amateur, pretty much everybody. You're not going to get good performances from all these people. I get it. And I try to look past that kind of stuff. I really wish there was some believability to any of the characters or any of the acting in this, but there just isn't. I'm sure this is Michael's real family, and he's asking them to do some scenes with him, but, their acting acting is, not great. The dialogue between them feels very fake. And then when we're out in the woods, like, it's definitely interesting to see like this military guy who's not really afraid of anything, and he's like going with machine guns, and he's going to take this thing down. It's kind of refreshing in a way, because you don't see that. You usually see these unprepared people who have no weapons, who are kind of defenseless, don't know how to take care of themselves, and they go out there and they get their asses handed to them. So it is kind of cool to see someone with like military training and real actual weapons and a game plan, and they're like uploading the video to the cloud so that if anything goes wrong, that they're gonna have this footage as evidence and whatnot. So I liked all of that stuff. I think there's cool ideas going on in here, and with them and their friendships, that's still solid enough and still believable enough. We get a bunch of different footage in here from different people. You've got like podcasters and people and like film reviewers and whatever, and they're like watching their film in that world and being like, I don't believe it. Do you believe it? And it's like, yeah, I kind of believe it. The people in the real world like me, we know this is obviously fake, but then the people within their real world are on the outside being like, I don't know if this is real or not. I like that stuff. That's, as I said, kind of talking back to what we were talking about in the beginning with the Blair Witch and the Grave Encounters and all that stuff. So I like the meta-ness of that stuff. But yeah, we get this really elaborate, ridiculous, over-the-top ending with so many different things going on, and that's cool. I mean, they went for it. I'll give them that. It didn't work for me, and it didn't work for me because it got very silly to the point where it actually almost felt like comedy. Like, I didn't know if it was actually going for something thrilling and potentially scary, because it definitely did not land that for me personally at all. It actually felt almost like a parody in a way, where it felt like kind of silly, and the way that they're reacting, like there's all this craziness going on around them where their odds of escaping this are very low, and they're dealing with a lot of different threats, and it's like they don't seem, especially Mike, and I get Mike is supposed to be like the tough badass guy, but it's like he's so nonchalant. He's so carefree. He's like smiling and laughing and having a good time during this. And I don't know, it makes him feel very unhinged and not in a relatable way. So I don't know, that was definitely hurting it for me. And then a lot of the acting from a lot of different characters that come into it, especially some last minute characters that show up. I won't say what they are or what's going on with that, but their acting and like their outfits, and oh boy. As I said, very limited budget. I'm trying not to harp on these kinds of things. I always try to watch these with a believable lens and be fair to them. But I call a spade when I see it, and I'm here to be honest, of course. Yeah, it didn't work for me. But if you are someone who was a big fan of the first one, and for some reason you haven't seen this one yet, and you're like, I don't care, I just want to see more of them and a bigger thing, then hell yeah, I think you'll be entertained as long as you kind of just roll with this. I like, because the film does kind of present itself as fairly serious, I then have to buy into it seriously. And I think maybe if I was in a different headspace with it and just kind of rolled with how silly and kind of goofy I did feel it was, maybe I could have enjoyed it more. But I was really just kind of hoping that we would get something more actually like thrilling and exciting, and it never felt like that in the end. There's some really silly action scenes and whatnot, and yeah, it's just not my film for sure. I didn't love either. And I'm not upset I watched either. I still had a fine time. I like the two guys that make these, and I commend them for going big and having such a small budget. I think think I already said this, but like the budget on the first one said on IMDb it was like $600 or $800. And most of that went to the suit. I don't know. I don't know what the budget was on this one, but they went bigger. They had a bigger idea, and here I am, the asshole, sitting on the couch critiquing it like, I'm some backseat driver who knows better. I don't fucking know any better. I just know what I like and what I don't. And unfortunately, a lot of this just wasn't resonating with me in the way that I personally like my mockumentaries to work, because it just, when you have characters that feel like they don't feel scared or thrilled or anything, it then makes us feel less, right? Like, when Heather is like freaking the fuck out in the Blair Witch, and Mike is like screaming, and he's like, "Tell me where you are, Josh." Like, you empathize with them, right? Like, you connect with them. They're these kind of helpless characters, and you then there feel helpless because you are on the other side of the camera, kind of at their mercy, because you have to do what they do. You have to live through them. And while it is kind of refreshing to see someone who can handle themselves for once and isn't just useless when it comes to a fight, there does need to be some kind of a balance to it, so that when these scenes are happening, we don't feel like they're having a good time, and it's kind of just like it's like another Saturday for them. That takes a lot of the thrill and the excitement out of it. So that's why I was saying it almost felt like a comedy, because it was just so disconnected from thrills or scares or any of that stuff in the end for me. So that's how I resonated with it or didn't resonate with it. So yeah. Anyway, both of these are on Tubi. If you're a big found footage Bigfoot enthusiast who doesn't mind more amateur acting and doesn't care and just wants to go in and vibe with this and see if it works for you, absolutely have at it. But yeah, anybody who's like not a found footage fan or like doesn't like this kind of stuff or isn't vibing with what I'm saying, no, I wouldn't recommend it for sure. But it has its audience. It's definitely going to have its audience. When I went on IMDb, there seemed to be some people that were really into it. Those could have just been friends of the fucking filmmakers for all I know. But I don't know. I definitely think movies like these have their audience 100%. And I love found footage. I love small budgeted indie found footage. I've seen some good Bigfoot ones, but I have to buy into the believability of it. That's really what it comes down to. With found footage, it's an imperative. I have to have it in order to enjoy my found footage films. You have to either really land the horror, really land the atmosphere, like in a movie like Fear Footage 2, The Lost Tapes. Like, the acting in that is dog shit. Worse than this movie by far. Like, terrible. But the atmosphere and the scares are so clever and so well crafted that I don't give a shit. Right? So you have to be super expertly landing these certain elements in order for me to not have to have the believability aspect as much. But few films can do that. So it's like, no, this is the most important aspect for me. And when I watch any of my favorite found footage films, whether it be, obviously the Blair Witch Project with the Paranormal Activities and the Last Exorcisms and the Savage Land and, all this shit, I sit here and name fucking found footage films till the cows come home. But it's always tied to how much I'm like connecting with the realism. And this one just doesn't feel real. Just doesn't. So there you go. Those are my thoughts. Let me know. I'll see you in the comments. They're both on Tubi. All right.